What's going on, everyone? Today we're going to be talking about how to start a food truck business in Canada, in specific Toronto. We are going to talk about the licensing, the permits, the fees, the cost of the trucks, the cost of the equipment. Everything you're going to need, it'll be in this video. I'll have timestamps for each section and different parts, so that way if you're looking for something specific or you only want to know about one thing, you can find it in the video. And I will also have a link in the description for a free downloadable checklist, which is going to state and say everything you're going to need to start your food truck business, and you'll be able to download it and print it to follow along as we go through this video, as I go through the list and talk about each thing in specific. So if you need to make notes or if you need to check things off, you're able to do so with this free downloadable checklist. So let's get into it. All right, guys, so the first part to starting your food truck business is the planning and concept. Now, this is the most important part before you jump into any business, but definitely specifically the food truck business, because guys, this game is different. There's food truck wars, it's a hustle, it's a non-stop grind, so you have to make sure that you're ready and you're prepared and you're built for it. But anyway, so the first thing on our list is choosing your food concept and menu. Now, guys, when it comes to food trucks, you gotta be unique, you gotta be different, you gotta stand out amongst the crowd. Especially if you're gonna be in a truck, people are already hesitant to walk up to a truck and order food from it because, you know, at the end of the day, we see like the old kind of dirty trucks parked up and it's like, oh, you're going there because it's the only thing available type thing, you know what I'm saying? But we need to change that, and we need to change that whole narrative. So what it comes down to is being different, being unique, and being clean. But it all starts with picking your menu and your concept. So the first thing is you have to figure out what it is you want to sell out of your truck. And you have to have a solid like recipe or tradition or something. You can't just get into all of this and then do all the work and then figure out what it is you want to serve out of your truck. You have to already know what it is you want to serve out of your truck. So make sure you choose your food concept or menu. For me, for my first one, I chose desserts. So in my first truck, I started with a dessert concept. So I already came up with concepts, menus, ideas, recipes for proper desserts that people would like, that I could sell at events, festivals, or even on the side of the street. So make sure the first thing you have before starting this business is a menu or a food concept. The second thing on the list is check existing competitors. So you want to see in the area that you're going to be if there's someone doing the same thing as you. And if there is, that's okay, but you have to figure out a way to do it different and better than that person. That's the one thing about business that people don't understand. Creating something that hasn't been done ever is very rare, difficult, and hard. So all we're doing is taking something that works, but we're making it better. Somehow making it better. So if, say, you want to open a burger truck and there's a burger spot down the street, what are they not doing that you can do that'll make you different from them and that will give you that edge? So that way when people say, oh, is it just another burger spot? No, it's not just a burger spot. We make our burgers out of whatever, or we do this with the buns, or we brand our logos this way, or we brand the burger that way. Whatever the case may be, is you just want something that sets you apart from your competitors, because there's always going to be another burger truck, there's always going to be another fry truck, there's always going to be another dessert truck. But what are you doing different that'll set you apart from the rest of the people? The next thing on the list is find 3 to 5 spots. Guys, this is the most important thing ever in the food truck game that before I even started my truck, I knew where I was going to be. I saw an area and I'm like, this dessert truck would do really good in this area, and that was that. I didn't start the business and then start looking for a spot, but when it comes to the food truck game, you want to have spots already picked out and chosen, because guys, these spots fill up fast. You don't want to build and spend all the money on building up your truck and then not having a spot to park. And this is a very important part, because if you're not parked somewhere proper, you're not going to be making money. And when it comes to the food truck game, you want to be in a spot where there's high foot traffic, where there's a lot of people walking by, where there's maybe businesses in the area that there isn't a lot of restaurants, but you can park there so you can fill people's lunchtime needs and stuff like that. But you have to have areas already picked out. The last thing you want is to go through all of this, build your whole truck, spend all the money, and then not know where to park the truck. Or let alone be like stuck and this was the spot you wanted to park at, but there's someone there and there's no spot. So that's why I'm saying find 3 to 5 spots before you even start. Before you even look at buying a truck, find 3 to 5 spots that you think would work for you, that you'd want to park your truck at. The next thing on the list is this going to be a seasonal or year-round business for you? Now, there's a lot of people that do it seasonal, which is what I do, and there's a lot of people that do it year-round, which is where you'll find the trucks downtown parked up on the side and all that good stuff. It all comes down to what it is you want to do and what you think you're capable of doing. But this choice does have to be made, because you can't quit your job and not have any income if you're only going to do seasonal. Seasonal is cool. It'll cover you for a good amount depending on how much you make, But you have to understand that if you're doing seasonal, then for at least 6 months of the year, you're not making any money. So just keep that in mind and understand if this is going to be a year-round thing or a seasonal thing. Another thing as well, if this is going to be a year-round thing, then you're gonna have to find a truck that is going to work in the winters, in the snow, in the snowstorms, in the cold weather, especially if you're in Toronto or Canada in specific. Our winters are very winter. You know what I'm saying? So you wanna make sure that the truck is able to manage, you're able to manage, the equipment inside is able to manage, and that you have the proper stuff set up so that you can actually serve and work properly in the winter. Now, number 5 on the list is name, logo, and visuals. Now, a lot of people will say that this comes after, but I'm telling you, this is the first thing that you should ever do when starting a business. Because once you have your name and your logo and you're visualizing how the truck looks and the feel you want to give out, then you have something to believe in. But if you're kind of just doing everything without this, then you're kind of just shooting in the dark and you're hoping for the best because you don't know the name yet, you don't have a logo, you don't have the colors and the brand, and you don't have anything to be excited about or visualize. You know what I'm saying? But for me, when I started, I wanted a dessert truck. I knew I wanted it to be pink. I knew I wanted it to be bright, bold, cheerful, playful, kid-friendly, family-friendly. And so I built everything around that, and I had that core that I was holding on to while I went through the rest of the steps and the rest of the things that you need to do. Because guys, it is a ton of work, and I don't want you to go through all the work, all the hassle for it to not work out for you. So make sure you have your name, your logo, your visuals, how your truck is going to look, everything set. Or like you don't have to have it done, but at least have an idea of what you want it to be like. So that way when you get to the point where that's the next step, you're not kind of just waiting and like, oh, I'm not sure. Or then you have to think about it and waste more time and money trying to figure that part out. That part should already be done. And now the last thing on the list is start your business plan. Now this comes in many different ways. There's tons of videos on how to start a business plan, so I'm not gonna go into too much detail, but look into it. Start your business plan. I know everyone's like, oh, you don't need a business plan to start, but just do it. It'll help you break down everything. It'll help you visualize everything. And if you're going to be taking loans or if you want to go to the bank and ask for money, you're going to need a business plan. So if that's the way you're going for, then you're definitely going to need a business plan because they're not going to give you money without one. But if you're going to bootstrap it and use your own money, then maybe a business plan is not what you need, but I'm just saying it helps you break down everything, visualize everything, and see everything on the journey, as opposed to kind of just doing it without really having an idea what you're doing. All right, and then that's it for the first section of planning and concept. All right, guys, now the next part we have is budgeting. And don't forget, if you haven't downloaded this checklist yet, the link will be in the description down below. It's a free download. You just have to type in your email and I will email you this checklist. And you can make notes while we walk through this video. The first thing is set your startup budget. Now, you have to understand when it comes to the food truck game, you can either spend $15,000, you could spend $25,000, you could spend $100,000, you could spend $150,000. It all comes down to what it is you need, what it is you're looking for, and what it is you're trying to achieve. Obviously, I'm not gonna say jump out the gate spending $150,000. I personally put down, I said I wanted to be around the $25,000 mark. Pretty fair, pretty soft. You can do 5 less, you can do 5 more, but I think the sweet spot is between 20 to 30,000, especially if this is your first business and you don't want to throw too much at it. I think 20 to 30,000 is a calm and comfortable amount. So that would be the startup budget. The next thing is the food truck cost, the cost of the truck itself. You can either buy it, you can lease it, you can finance it. There's tons of different options. You just have to see what works best for you. For me, in my case, the first one I did was I bought a truck off of Facebook Marketplace and it was $6,000 completely empty. And I did the renovations, I added everything into it so I can stay below my budget cost that I allocated for it. But you can buy a fully made truck for $40,000. You can buy a fully made truck brand new for $150,000. It all comes down to what it is you're looking for. So this is something where I can't get into too much details because it's really very specific to what it is you're doing. I will also have a link to a one-on-one call down below where if you want to discuss your food concept and your menu to understand what truck you need and what needs you will need, we can do that too. You can book a call with me and we will sit down and discuss your specific scenario. But for the case of this video, I'm just going to be talking about the generic stuff that anyone would need to start a food truck. So yeah, food truck cost, you can buy it outright. You could buy it if you have 50K laying around, you want to buy it, you buy it. If you have 10K and you found a truck on Facebook, you buy it. If you want to finance or lease or rent, those are all options available too. It just depends where you're looking, how you find it, and who you deal with. But so those options are available. The next thing is renovation. So if you're buying a truck that's already made, then obviously there's no renovations for you to do because you're buying the truck with all the equipment, all the walls, all the electrical, all the plumbing, everything already done and set. But if you're gonna do what I did, which is buy a truck on Facebook for like $6,000 to $7,000 with nothing in it, you're gonna have to do the renovations in it. So this is where, again, it depends on what food concept and what menu you wanna provide. This is going to depend on that. So for me, for desserts, I didn't have too much I needed. I just needed some prep tables, I needed plumbing, I needed electrical, I needed a fridge, a freezer, so pretty basic stuff, but you have to allocate for that. So some pretty basic stuff, but you have to allocate the money to put into the truck on top of the $7,000 or $8,000 that you're spending for the truck itself. And then so equipment, we already talked about equipment. For me, like I said, I just needed a freezer, a fridge, prep tables, and like my blenders and my milkshake blenders and my smoothie blenders and my utensils and all that stuff. So pretty basic stuff for me, but for you, if you're gonna be cooking food, you're gonna need a stove. If you're going to be serving warm food, you're gonna need a food warmer. You're gonna need a grill. You're gonna need the hood. All that stuff would come down to your specific menu, but you should just keep in mind, or at least understand right now, that if you know you wanna start a burger food truck, you know you're gonna need a grill. You know you're gonna need, I don't know, a fridge and a freezer for prep, a prep table. You're probably gonna need a cold fridge table so that you can put your lettuce and your tomatoes and all that stuff in it. So just keep that stuff in mind to understand what it is you're going to need for your menu. The next thing on the list is licensing and permit fees. Now, this is the most important and the biggest thing that everyone asks me about. We have a whole section coming up in regards to this part, but off top, you need to know that you need at least $5,000 for your license and permit. And that is on the lower end. So when it comes to the food truck game in Toronto, at least in Canada, you can get a permit based on how many months you want to operate. So there's, I think, a 6-month permit, a 9-month permit, and then a year permit. Obviously, the more months, the more expensive it's going to be. So on the lower end, which is the minimum, which is what I went for, you're going to need to allocate at least $5,000. It actually comes down to just a bit under 5, but I just say 5 for any extra cost that may arise in taxes or whatever else might come up. But you do need at least $5,000 just for your licensing and permit fees. Now, the license and permit fees are needed if you're going to be serving on city streets in the city, obviously. So if you want to park up in front of a park or on the city streets or whatever, you will need a City of Toronto permit and license and all that stuff to be able to park there. Now, if you're deciding to only do private caterings or you're parking on private property, you can get around this because you do not actually need the whole license and permit stuff because you are serving on private property. What you would need is just your health inspection pass, which is a couple $100, so pretty easy, and you will need permission from the owner of that property to park there. So that is where people, need to understand and know what business you're trying to get into. If you're trying to do just private caterings, then you don't need all the license and permit fees for the $5,000. If you have a friend who owns a parking lot and he's letting you park on there for free, then you don't need all that stuff. But what could happen is there's a plot of land somewhere and you want to park your truck there, you go ask the owner and the owner's like, yeah, but you got to give me $2,000 a month. That's your rent you're paying to the owner. So that's between you and the owner, but you still do not need a license or permit. The license or permit is specifically for you to be able to park downtown, in a park, on the side of the street, wherever you feel like it. You will need a permit for that. But if you're only going to be doing private caterings, private house parties, private property serving, then you do not need all of this. So that's something for you to think about as well as you go into this journey. The next thing is a commissary / a kitchen for prep. Now, to get your license and permit for the city, one of the requirements is you need to have a commissary or a prep kitchen. So for me, because I have another business which is a restaurant and I have a health inspected kitchen there, I'm actually allowed to use that kitchen as my prep commissary for my food truck. So if you have a friend who owns a kitchen or owns a restaurant, you can get permission from them for them to write you a letter saying, I give you permission, I give you Ali, the owner of this food truck, to use my kitchen for your prep and your storage and all that stuff. So that is one way to cut costs and get around the commissary and prep kitchen because it is a requirement to get your license and permit for the City of Toronto. So like I said, if you have a friend or if you own another business that has a kitchen or a restaurant that's health inspected, you can use that as your commissary for your food truck and you're good to go. If you don't though, you will have to get a commissary, which is like a kitchen that you rent out. Usually it goes from maybe $1,000 to $2,500 for the month. and that way it's like a certified, health inspected kitchen that a business owns or whatever, and you go in there, you can keep store of your stuff, you can cook, you can prep your stuff, and then you bring it onto your truck. The whole point of this is they don't want you cooking the stuff in your house because your house is not health inspected. So it needs to be in a proper health inspected kitchen or area to be able to prep the food that you're going to be serving to the people. So your your house kitchen is not going to cut it. Make sure you have the price or budget in mind, or at least an idea of what it is you're going to do for your commissary kitchen, because it is a requirement in the food truck game. Now, the next thing on the list is marketing budget. Now, you can't say, oh, I don't need a marketing budget or da-da-da-da. When you first open, you're going to need to do something to tell people that you're open. You're going to need to do something to let people know that, yo, I'm here, come check it out. Whether it's Instagram ads, whether it's finding a local food influencer to pay and come in to show your food and post it on their page, you're gonna need something. You can't just go to an empty park and sit there all day, get no customers, no clients, and do nothing about it. You're going to need to hire a camera person to get some good videos or footage of your stuff. Whatever the case may be, just make sure you're budgeting for marketing, because that is what's going to pay. And then the last thing on the list is your emergency fund. Now, there is so many things that are going to come up, so many roadblocks, so many headaches, so many little things that are going to happen that you're going to need extra money for. So make sure you have some extra money set aside for worst case scenarios when things break or when last minute things need to get fixed. For example, I needed to get my safety certificate for my truck, and I needed like a new this and a new that. I ended up needing to spend like $2,500 on some stuff to be able to get that certificate, which I didn't have budgeted in the first place, but I didn't have a choice. I had to pay that $2,500 to get the safety certificate. And once I got the safety certificate, I was able to get the rest of the stuff I needed. So just make sure you have some extra cash for, last case scenarios, emergency funds when something comes up. And so yeah, that's going to be it for section 2 of budgeting. So the next section on our list is buying the truck. Now the first thing is searching for the truck. Pretty simple, right? But it is not. You want to make sure you're getting the best bang for your buck. You want to make sure you're not buying a truck that's going to give you a bunch of headaches. And if you're buying a truck with all the equipment, you got to make sure it has the right equipment. Or if you're buying a truck that has nothing in it, you got to make sure that you're able to fit and put everything in it. And that is one thing that I've seen a lot and heard a lot of stories about. And guys, it's like, come on. All you needed to do was ask me or watch this video and you would have found out. But anyways, searching for the trucks. The first thing is Facebook Marketplace. Facebook Marketplace. Facebook Marketplace will be your best friend when it comes to any of the things that are going on here if you're doing it yourself. Now, if you're buying a made truck, there's going to be different companies that are available. I'm not going to name them because I'm not giving them free promo. But if you just type in Food Truck Canada, then you will get a website that will take you, then you will get links that will take you to websites that will take you to people who sell made food trucks for a crazy price, which I think is unnecessary for you to be spending on it at first. But if you got the money, then why not? You know what I'm saying? But that'll be the first thing. So just make sure you're checking Kijiji, make sure you're checking Facebook Marketplace, make sure you're just searching on Google on the website and finding different sites to find the best option that'll work for you. The benefit to the people that are selling it from like their dealerships or like the businesses is that they can do financing for you, they can rent it to you. So there's a bit more flexibility with the options. If you're going through Facebook Marketplace or Kijiji, obviously you've got to have $10,000 to $20,000 laying around ready to fork it up for that vehicle. You know what I'm saying? But that'll be the first thing. The second thing for buying your truck is trucks versus trailers. Now, I started in a truck, and then I got a trailer, and then I sold the trailer, bought another truck, and then I kept that truck and bought another trailer. Guys, take it from me, I've operated a truck and a trailer, both for over 2 years now. They will both give you headaches, no matter what. There's no way to put it. There's no nice way to put it. There's pros and cons to the trailer. There's pros and cons to the truck. You just gotta pick what headaches you wanna deal with. Real quick off the top, if you're getting a truck, mechanicals, it's going to be expensive because trucks, to fix them and take them to mechanic, is expensive. You're going to need a safety for the truck because it has an engine. You're going to need new tires. It's going to need to be checked. You're gonna need to fill it up with gas. You're gonna need to get insurance for it because it is a vehicle with its own engine. Now with the trailer, on the other hand, you have to hitch it, you have to unhitch it. You don't have to worry about gas, you don't have to worry about insurance. What else? It is harder to maneuver and move around and put, but at the end of all of this, I can go on for days. I'll probably make a whole other video specifically on trucks versus trailers. But at the end of the day, they both have their pros and cons. You just have to figure out what you need this for. So for example, if you're going to be doing a lot of private caterings, if you're going to be doing a lot of driving, if you're going to be going out of town a lot, a trailer would be the best decision for you, because you just hook it up to your car, or you can rent a pickup truck from U-Haul or Enterprise and hook up your trailer to it and drive to the thing and bring it back. Now, reversing parking, it's hard, but you'll get through it. You don't need insurance because the car you're driving covers the trailer that you're pulling, and you don't have to worry about it ever breaking down or not working because it's a trailer that you're towing. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to worry about running out of gas. You don't have to worry about taking it to a mechanic. But if you want to be doing a lot of city driving, if you want to be going to different parks, if you want to be going to different street festivals and events, if you want to be parking up in front of schools and universities, obviously a truck would be more ideal, because parallel parking a car and a trailer is not easy, especially in downtown. Driving a car and a trailer downtown is not easy, as opposed to just driving one truck. It's a bit more efficient, it's a bit more effective for the quick give and go, park and stop, serve and go type thing. You know what I'm saying? And you can move it a lot easier, and you can park anywhere. But obviously if you have a trailer and a car, now you're taking up how much space because of your car and your trailer. Then you have to get out of your car to get into the trailer, as opposed to the truck. You just stand up out of your seat and walk into the back. You know what I'm saying? So pros and cons, again, like I said, I probably went into a lot more detail than I should have. I'll probably make a whole other video on it, but just a little thing to keep in mind and to figure out. So if you know what you want to do, just take your paper, free download, link in the bio, and put next to it whether you want to buy a truck or a trailer. And if you still haven't decided, well, take your time, figure it out, learn both. Maybe watch the video, trucks versus trailers, and then put down on the paper what you decide to do. The next thing is a mechanical inspection for your vehicle. So in Canada, in Toronto in specific, every time you purchase a vehicle and you want to put it into your own name, you have to get a safety certificate. So what that means is, if you buy a car off of Facebook, you have to go to a mechanic, you have to pay them for them to check it, and then they give you this little paper. Once you get this paper, you take that to Service Ontario, which is like the equivalent of the DMV in USA. You take it to a Service Ontario, and then they transfer the ownership into your name. So, key thing, you want to make sure, if you're buying a truck off of Facebook or Kijiji, that it will pass the safety certificate. Again, I'll make a whole other video specific to this, but just it's a little thing to keep in mind. So jumping on to the next spot, truck passes safety standards. So you will need to get a mechanical inspection on the truck so that it passes the safety. And then once it passes the safety, you can use that certificate to transfer it into your name and also to get the permit. So guys, I'm gonna say this one more time because I did not do this, and oh my gosh, it hit me really hard. I was gonna say a bad word, but I don't wanna swear. So you need a safety pass for your truck, period. So what they do is so here's how it went. Before, if you bought a car or a vehicle on Facebook Marketplace, you'd be able to go to any mechanic shop, or some of them, and be like, yo, I'll give you $400 or $500 to just say it passes safety. The mechanic takes the money, they'll have a paper, they'll sign, they'll write all their information, they give it to you, and you're good to go. And that was the end of it. But because the government is trying to crack down on like bad cars that shouldn't be on the streets, old cars that don't work, and the safety of them, and all that stuff, they implemented a new rule now where it is all digital. So what that means is there's no way to get past it no more, because you have to take it to a shop, and now this mechanic has to use their tablet that was given to them by the government to take pictures of everything around the vehicle. And to add on top of that, the government has access to call the mechanic real time to be like, yo, show me this, show me that, to make sure that no vehicles are passing that aren't supposed to be passing. So if you were getting into the food truck game a few years ago, you could have flown through this step. But now, because no mechanic wants to risk losing their license, they're not going to take money under the table for them to pass you. You know what I'm saying? So you're going to have to do it by the book. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? You just got to, it is what it is. So when you buy a truck, you're going to have to take it to a mechanic shop that does safeties for the trucks. And then, so that's, I think, around, usually it's between $300 to $450 just for the safety. And they'll check it. What they'll do is they'll take the wheels off, they'll measure how thick the wheels are, they'll make sure you have good brakes, they'll make sure all the lights work, they'll make sure the windshield wipers work, they'll make sure your e-brakes work, all that good stuff. If all that good stuff works, they'll give you the safety, and then you're good to go. If all that stuff doesn't work, you're going to need to pay whatever the price is to fix that stuff to be able to get that safety. Because I'm telling you, if you don't get the safety, you cannot get a permit. And if you don't get the safety, you cannot transfer it into your name. You're going to be in a very poop situation if that's the situation you get in. So make sure that the truck can pass the safety. Now, how could you do that? I have yet to figure that out. But what you can do is you can tell the seller, if you're buying it off of Facebook, tell them to go get it safetied. So that way, if they can get it passed, then you know you can get it passed. You know what I'm saying? They'll obviously have to show you a receipt. And if they had to fix anything, you'll have a receipt of the stuff they fixed. If you're buying it from a dealer, you can probably bargain and you know, get them to sell the truck to you with the safety. So that way you don't have to worry about it. You know that it's good to go. Those are a few options. Or if you're getting a really good deal on a truck on Facebook, you could risk it and be like, hey man, I know you want 7,000, I'll give you 5,000 because I'm gonna have to get it safetied, and if anything needs to get fixed, I'm gonna have to spend that 2K, maybe less, maybe more, maybe none at all, to get it past safety. So that's just one thing to make sure to keep in mind, because it is so important, because I didn't do that and I'm here spending $6,000 to fix the stuff I need to fix to get the safety. So don't be me. Make sure that you understand this concept and you understand that you're going to need to do this. Now the last thing is transferring ownership and insurance. I talked about transferring the ownership. You can't transfer the ownership without that safety certificate. So you're gonna need to make sure that that gets figured out. Once you get that, then you can put the truck in your name. And then the second part to this part is insurance. Obviously it is a vehicle, you will need insurance. So if you're getting a food truck, you need to get commercial insurance and liability insurance. So what that means is the same way you have a car and you get insurance for your car, you're going to need that insurance for the truck. And aside from that, you're going to need commercial insurance, which is your business insurance. So it's I don't know, it's insurance for your business. So say for example, I wanted to open a consulting business, I can get insurance for my consulting business for whatever may happen down the line, you know what I'm saying? But for food trucks, you need to have commercial and automotive. So commercial is your business one, automotive is for the truck itself. If you get into a crash, commercial is if someone wants to, you did something to someone in your business because of your business. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, maybe you served someone bad food and they got food poisoning. They can't sue the business because you have insurance. So the insurance should cover it. You know what I'm saying? All that little detail stuff. But anyways, those are extra things that you will need. So you can't get around this. So just know, when you're buying a truck, when you're looking for your truck, these are all things that you will need to have done, so that way it makes your truck that you're buying worthwhile. If you can't get any of these for your truck, then do not buy that truck. End of story. And last thing, I'm going to talk about this a little bit later in the next part, but the ownership, so the ownership, which is the green paper, which says you own that vehicle, which is if you have a car in your family, there's going to be a green ownership that you get with the car. That will say your name on it because it's your car. That'll say your name on it. What you need to do is get that in your business name. So that's a whole other thing I'll talk about later, but just keep in mind that the vehicle is going to have to be in a business's name, which, like I said, I will talk about in a bit. And that'll be it for buying the truck. So on to the next part, renovation and setup. All right, now the next part is renovation and setup. I'm not gonna write it on the board because I have them listed out perfectly on the free downloadable checklist, link down below in the bio, for you to be able to follow them. These are gonna be a quick walkthrough, so I'm not gonna go into too much detail about this one because I took a lot of time in the last section. But anyway, so the first one is planning your kitchen layout. If you're gonna be building it yourself, then you wanna make sure you have a smooth flow of how you're going to be serving. So maybe it's take the order, pick up this, cook it here, prep it here, put it together here, pass it out. Whatever the case of your layout may be, you just want to make sure you have that figured out. But if you're buying it already made, then you don't have to worry about that. Same thing goes for plumbing. If you are buying the truck ready with all the stuff you need, then you don't need to worry about it. But if you're buying it without anything, you're gonna have to install plumbing. Basic plumbing for me, I did it myself. It's pretty doable. It cost me about $1,000. Electricity. Depending on how much power you're gonna need, again, there's gonna be a video going into more depth and detail about this, but basic electrical, 30 amps with outlets all around on their own circuits, so that way if something pops, the whole thing doesn't pop, only that circuit pops. It cost me around $1,000 as well. The next thing, ensuring that there's a 3-compartment sink and a hand washing station. So guys, one of the requirements, and this is the most important thing, non-negotiable, one of the requirements to pass your health inspection is a 3-compartment sink and a hand wash sink. So you're gonna need 4 sinks total in your either truck, trailer, whatever the case may be. You're gonna need 4 sinks. You will not pass health and safety without it, so make sure you have it. You're also gonna need hot running water. So you're gonna need a water heater in there, so that way you have hot water running in your truck. If you don't have hot water, you're not gonna pass the health and safety. The inspector will literally put his hand under the water and feel if it's hot. It needs to be hot. The next thing is walls and flooring. Again, if you already bought the truck made, you don't have to worry about it. But for me, I budget at least $1,000 for walls and flooring. I buy stainless steel sheets, and then I drill them up against the walls inside the truck. For flooring, I get like a rubber mat from Home Depot, which kind of rolls out. It's very durable, heavy duty, and it's easy to clean. Anything spills or pours, it doesn't go into anywhere else. It just stays confined in this rubber mat, which is, I find, the best. And then propane system if needed. So if you're going to be cooking with gas, you're gonna need a propane system, and then a fire suppression system. You're gonna need to have that installed too. Now, if you're getting into a truck where you need these two things, I would recommend buying a truck with that already on it, because those things can get pricey and those things are work to get put in and installed properly. So if you have I would recommend finding a truck with those two things. But if you're gonna be doing a concept or a menu that doesn't require those two things, then you don't have to worry about that. It actually might be cheaper for you to do it yourself, because you don't need these two very big, important, and difficult things to add onto your truck. And then the last thing is signage, paint, wrap, and branding. So just planning that, setting it up how it's gonna be. If you're getting a truck made, you're gonna want it wrapped, or maybe you wanna get it painted, or maybe you need some big neon lights on top, LED commercial letter lights, so that way your truck stands out. Another thing to just think about. So yeah, that's gonna be it for renovation and setup. Flew through it because, again, I'm not gonna waste too much time. You might buy a truck made, you might buy a truck not made, but if you wanna talk about your specific scenario, your specific case, just book a one-on-one call with me and we will go through all the details and I will make it worth your while. And yeah, so on to the next part, which is the most important part, and I know it's the part that everyone's been waiting for: licensing and permits. All right, guys, now the fun part, the part we've all been waiting for and we're all curious to know about and understand. It took me forever to go through this and understand this, and now that I've done it, I'm here to help and show you guys what it is you need to know so you understand what you need before you get into it, how much it's gonna cost, what you're gonna require, all that good stuff. So, licensing and permits, and don't forget, this is going to be Toronto specific. In Toronto, actually, in Canada, Toronto is the most expensive part to get your food truck license and stuff like that. So all the rest of the provinces will follow suit pretty closely. Prices will probably be a little bit less, but the similarities will be there. I'm not saying it's going to be exact, because I don't live in Vancouver or Manitoba or Saskatchewan. But Toronto specific Ontario, this is what you need. So the first thing, start a corporation. You might say, yo, what do I need? Don't even, just start a corporation. You will need a corporation to start the process of getting a food truck license and putting it into your name. So the first step is go on your website, type in start a corporation, pay however much, $400 or $500 it's gonna need to file and start a corporation. Pick your name, pick your Inc., pick your limited, pick your whatever, and start a corporation. That's the first step. I don't want to hear nothing. You cannot go through the rest of this at all if you do not have a corporation. There's other options. There's sole proprietorship, but if you do that route, they're gonna ask you for a like a proof of work, and then a letter of this and a letter of that. It's not even worth it. And if you go bankrupt, it's going to affect you personally and all your houses and assets. If you have a corporation, you're good. So start a corporation. Once you start a corporation, then you're gonna want to open a business bank account. Now you might be like, yo, what the hell do I need a business bank account for? I didn't even make any money yet. Don't ask me any questions. Just do it. I promise you, you'll thank me later. These are steps that if you could just get out of the way and get it done with, you'll be good to go. Open a business bank account because when you're making money on the truck, that money is going to have to be linked to an account, and you want it to go into your business bank account. I made the mistake of having it go into a personal, and it messed up everything when it came down to taxes. My accountant made me print out the last 8 years of my statements. I had to go through each transaction and write down which one was a business one and which one was a personal one. And then that way he could tell the government, hey, these are business expenses that were made. Regardless, I'm not going to go into it. Just open a business bank account. So that way when people pay for your burger, the money goes into your business bank account. Also, it's good. It's just good to have. It helps build your business credit score. You can get loans for your business. You can buy your equipment that you're going to need on the business bank account card, and it can count as a write-off for tax purposes. But regardless, just get a business bank account. After you get a business bank account, obviously at this point we already have the truck. After you have these two things, obviously this is saying that we already have the truck. After you have these two things, you're going to need to get a TSSA approval for your truck. And now what this is for your propane. So if you have a propane set up in your truck, it needs to be approved. So you're gonna have to call the TSSA and book an appointment or find a center where they do it, bring the truck to them and get it approved. Once you get approved, they'll give you this little certificate that it's approved or a sticker on your truck and you're good to go. That is the first step to even getting your license or permit. The next thing is getting a fire inspection. Now, if you go on the website again, type in Toronto Fire Inspection, you can book an appointment or go to a center where they will check it to make sure it's all good to go, and you will get a sticker or a paper saying that you've passed the fire inspection. These obviously cost money, so make sure you're budgeting and being aware of that when you're looking into it. I'm not gonna go into too much detail because not every truck is gonna need this. If you're like me and you're doing a dessert truck, you don't need these two things because I'm not cooking with gas or propane. I don't have any of that stuff. I'm running on electric, so I don't need to worry about that. But these two things are going to be needed if you're running like a burger truck and you want to get your permit. The next thing is you're going to need a commissary agreement. So like I talked about earlier, you're going to have a kitchen or an agreement with a kitchen that says you're using their kitchen for prep space storage to use for your food truck business. And so these are all files, right? What you're going to need to do is you're going to need to collect these files and have them together. Now, you're going to apply for your health inspection. And here's the thing. You cannot get a health inspection without a fire inspection, without a TSSA approval, without the ownership. So the truck has to be in your corporation name. I actually forgot to say that. You're starting a corporation, so that way when you buy a vehicle, you can put that vehicle in the corporation name, into the business's name. So say your business is called Burger Bros Inc. On the green ownership of the truck, it's gonna say Burger Bros Inc. and then the truck name. So that's what you will need for that. But like I was saying, so to get your health inspection, the health inspection is kind of like the final gate that you have to get and go through to be able to get your permit. But you cannot go through the health inspection gate without all these things, because to get your health inspection, these are requirements. So make sure you have your commissary agreement, make sure you have your fire inspection, TSSA approval, your ownership of the vehicle in the corporation name, and then there's also a fee of I think like $300 you have to make out to the treasury, but when you reach out to the health inspection, they'll tell you exactly how much and who to write it to. And then you're also gonna need your food handler certificate. So you're gonna have to go online, go on a food handler's course. It took me like a few hours. You just sit there and you go through the course, you do a couple quizzes, they send you a certificate that says your name and you have your food handler certificate, and the health inspector will ask for those documents. So make sure you have all these documents in hand, ready to go. You can download the checklist, it's free in the description, and check off all the documents that you have to make sure that you're good to go. So you're going to need all these things, and then you can go to the health inspector. Once you go into the health inspector, he's going to ask you to give him all the stuff. You're going to give it to him or email it to him, and then he's going to go into the truck and he's going to check everything. What he's going to check is, obviously he can't check the fire inspection and TSSA approval, so that's why you have to get it done by by their actual departments, and then the health inspector just sees that those departments said it's good. What the health inspector will check is just the overall cleanliness, clean water and wastewater, that you have running hot water, that you have a 3-compartment sink and a hand wash sink, that your lights are covered so it's not like open bulbs so that if it breaks it doesn't fall into your food, that all your prep stuff is covered and done properly, and that's what they're gonna check. And he's gonna check that to make sure that the water drains proper, so you're gonna have like a little spout outside your truck where you open it and then all your dirty water comes out to empty it or drain it, and just basic stuff like that. So that's what you're gonna need for the health inspector to pass you. Once the health inspector passes you and you get the beautiful little green sign that says health pass, safety passed and approved or whatever, then now you can apply for your license. So once you have all these things done, now you can apply for the mobile refreshment vehicle license. Now there's 2 options. You can do this online. If you just type that in, it'll show up. There's a link. It'll tell you to upload all those documents, and you just upload them all. The only downside to that is it does take a while for them to go through it and approve it. Or you can go directly to the Civic Center, which is located at Coxwell in Toronto, with all your documents, because they do not play around there. If you forgot one thing, or if one thing is not done right, you're out of there. So you can make a list with all your documents, bring everything that you're gonna need, IDs, corporations, articles of incorporations, everything. And then you take it to them, and then they do it on the spot there. You pay the fee. So, like I said earlier, you need to budget at least $5,000 for all of this. For the approval inspections, agreements, health inspections, everything, you're going to need to budget at least $5,000 for it. And then, yeah, that is pretty much it. But so here's a few things. These were all, the way this game works is crazy. To get this one thing, you have all these requirements, right? And once you get all these requirements, you can get this one thing. But the next step, the requirement for that was that one thing. You get what I'm saying? So now you can use that one thing to get to the next step. And then to get to the next step, you have all these other requirements to get to the next step. And it's kind of like a ladder that it just feels like it never ends and you have to keep climbing. But anyways, to get your license, they just need to see the health inspection. They need to see that the health inspector approved your health inspection. So to make sure that you pass your health inspection, you need to make sure you get all this stuff done. You get what I'm saying? So you get all this stuff done, you get a health inspection. Now you go to the next step where you're applying for the license. They're going to ask for your health inspection. They're going to ask for pieces of ID like a passport, driver's license. They're going to ask for your articles of incorporation, which is we made a corporation, so they're going to ask for that. They're going to ask for the ownership, which is going to be in your business's name, which is I already told you, so you're going to have to be able to have that to use it for the next step. And then there's like these forms that you have to fill out. They're all online. If you want to do this together, you can book a one-on-one call with me and we will go through it together to make sure you have everything you need. But if I was to sit here and go through every single paper they need to fill out, this video would be forever. But maybe I'll make a specific video specifically on that. Or if you just want to book a one-on-one call with me, we can go through that together and get it done together to make sure you have everything. And then, yeah, so you hand that stuff to them and then they print out the little license permit, which I will put a picture up of mine right here and blur out some of my info. And my health safety standard, which you already saw. They'll also give you this like little refreshment sticker, which then you stick on your truck or trailer. And then, yeah, you'll be good to go after all of that. And yeah, so that's going to be kind of it for licensing and permits. I will make another video specifically and go into more depth of the actual papers and stuff that you need. But for the most part, for you, now you understand what it is you're going to need to do, what it is you're going to need to get, and you're able to compile and choose and decide whether this is a path and a journey that you're ready to go down or not. But that's going to be it for licensing and permits. Now, the next part that I have on the list, I'm not going to write it on the board. I'm just going to go through it quickly because it's a little bit easier and, you know, not that deep. The first thing is setting up your POS system. I normally just recommend go with Square. It might be a little bit more expensive, but peace of mind, easy. It just gets the job done. So yeah, go with Square. It's usually the top people that you'll have to decide between is Square and Clover. They both make terminals that are the same. The only difference is I like to compare it as Square is Apple and Clover is Samsung. So Square is a lot more easy, user-friendly, and they got your back on some like, you know, legit, just simple iPhone thing. And then Clover is more of like Samsung and Android, where it's like a little bit different, but still very good and easy, but it's for the, you know what I'm saying? Just the two different divides. You know what I'm saying? Or you can call it like Spotify and Apple Music, or like Hyundai and Toyota, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Something like that. Anyways, so that's the POS. Next is going to be set up food costing and price. So I'm going to make a separate video talking about how to actually price your foods and how to find the cost of your food to see how much you can charge for it, but just in mind how much you're going to sell each thing for. Designing your menu board, you can use Canva or you can use AI now for ChatGPT to make you a menu. You just tell it, these are all my menu items, this is how much I want to cost, make a cool board, menu board for me, and then there you go. Choose your event locations, private versus public. So if you have your license, you can go park up wherever. If you're gonna do private events, so you're not gonna get your license and permit, you can do private events. So just signing up for those. Usually there's entry fees, book them in. They're not gonna usually book doubles of trucks, so make sure that your truck is different and you do it first, so that way they approve you. And then get parking / storage for the truck. So you're gonna need to park this truck or trailer somewhere. So if you have a big house and a driveway and you can park it in there, cool. But if you live in an apartment or a condo and you don't have space, you're gonna need to rent a storage unit. So I have one truck parked in my driveway because I have a solid driveway where I could park it. But for my other vehicles, I needed to get storage units, storage parking spots for them. I pay around like $350 to park it a month, which is pretty high if you ask me, but it doesn't get much better than that in the city. And then the last thing is hiring staff. You want to make sure you have a team and staff, unless you're going to be doing it yourself out the gates. But normally by yourself is impossible. Almost every single food truck owner I've ever met or worked with, it's either like husband and wife, or boyfriend and girlfriend, or brother and brother, or like brother and sister, or brother and partner, whatever. You need at least 2 people. You know what I'm saying, to make sure everything flows smoothly. And then the last thing on our list is number 7, marketing and branding. So locking in your brand name, logo, and visuals, making sure you have your Instagram username, Facebook username, TikTok username, all that stuff good. Create your social accounts and build a basic website or landing page. Nothing too crazy, but just a page to inform people of what you do or what you are, so you can put it in your social bios. So if you're Burger Bros, then you just have one landing page. And it says Burger Bros. We serve the best burgers made with handmade this and premium this, and puts a few pictures, and maybe just put like a follow us on Instagram to see where we'll be at next. And then you put that down there, so that way people just have a landing page to go on and see information about you. And then that is it. And that is it. I know this was very info packed. So again, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, make sure you drop them down below. I will answer every comment. If you want to book a one-on-one call with me where we go through your specific scenario together, we could do that. So you tell me your business, and I'll sit down and go through all the forms, papers, plans, and everything that you'll need to get through that business. And then, yeah, don't forget, there's a free downloadable checklist in the bio below. All you have to do is type in your email, and I will email you the downloadable PDF of this checklist. And then that way you can kind of go through it and make sure you have everything you need. And that's going to be it for this video. So again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, make sure you drop them down below. And make sure you press the subscribe button, because I will be posting a ton of videos about all sorts of food truck game stuff. And yeah, so I'll see you guys on the next video. Good luck to my fellow food truck business owners. I will see you guys on the road.